So here we go, the biggest week of the stock market this year so far. It's going to be a massive week in the stock market. We're going to see some companies making some big moves, and today I'll show you where potentially those big moves could come from. So I hope you enjoyed the preview. Let's get started. And while we're here, I'd like to just say thank you for the support on yesterday's video. That was the best viewed video for a long time, so thanks for the support and thanks for you guys that smashed the like button. Last week we did see the bit of the relief rally going on. I think this time last week I said to you that I think we're going to have a good week in the stock market. Obviously there was a few issues, the stock market was getting a little bit oversold, and we did have a good week last week. This week could be a little bit different. It all depends on the earnings and the Fed, and we'll take a look at some of those key events. Before that, on the UK, there's a lot of companies that are going to report earnings. The big one that I just quickly want to point out to you is Card Factory. We are going to have Card Factory reporting on Tuesday. This is going to be really interesting because Card Factory has not done anything in the last year, and it seems like the market's been pricing in that this company isn't going to improve at all. The financials may be disappointing, and we'll see if the market is right and the earnings are disappointing, or if the market has got it totally wrong and we see the market go, oh, we've priced Card Factory wrong. Looking at the numbers, last time we had an update from them was around January time, where they said that they believe they're going to be at the top of the range of the market expectations, which will be around about 58.4 million to 62 million in adjusted profit before tax. So if they can do that, that'll be pretty impressive. And the big news that we'll be looking at with Card Factory is any news around the dividend coming back. So we'll see if the market has totally got this wrong, or if the market knew something that we didn't, and that's why it's not been buying up the shares in Card Factory, because I feel like if they do these financials, we should easily see Card Factory go up to a £1.20 stock. We'll come back on Tuesday for that one. Apart from that though, on the US, mega amounts of earnings. As you can see here, also key thing to point out is the Fed are going to be meeting. They're going to meet on the 30th of April to the 1st of May. And I think the expectations is that interest rates will not be lower during that time frame, but everybody will looking at what Jerome Powell says, and is he going to talk about potentially more interest rates cuts coming in the future. I personally think the market might have a little bit of correction on that date, as the Fed once again goes, calm down, we don't see any cuts coming at the moment if inflation stays how it is, and I think the market might react quite negatively towards that, so we'll see what happens there. But earnings, we are entering the peak of earnings season, and there's a lot of companies reporting earnings. So Sofi, now actually by the time you see this video, you will know what's happened with Sofi earnings. I'm recording before Sofi earnings, so I'm not going to make myself look a bit of an idiot, but what I will say is that there was a bit of a rally up on Friday after the market. Looking at the numbers, the analyst expectations are to go from a loss of 0.05 to a profit or positive EPS of 0.01 with 20% revenue growth. I think if they do those numbers, I think maybe the guidance will be a big thing to look at, but if they do those numbers, I'd expect the stock to react quite positively. The fact that it's also in the $7 range, well, I guess it's the $8 range now, I think will help it. Sofi is volatile off earnings. It's very usual to see it move 10 to 20% off earnings, so obviously you guys, I'm not going to talk anymore because you guys know the outcome seeing this video, and I don't, so but that would be my prediction, and obviously you guys can either laugh at me and go, look at how wrong I got that, or you can say, oh, that was a pretty good prediction. So we'll see what happens with Sofi. We've got on semi reporting. Obviously you guys are patient, know a funny story about that one, but yeah, that's a very interesting company. I'll probably check out their earnings. We've got Domino's, Paramount, Logitech that are going to report on the Monday, Chegg on Tuesday. We really start ramping up though. We've got PayPal that report earnings, and PayPal's hit a little bit of positive momentum at the moment, up 7% for the year. Looking at the numbers, I would expect them to beat these numbers. They're expecting the EPS to go up from 1.17 to 1.22 and sales growth of 6.7%. I would expect them to beat those numbers. I think they set out the numbers. Alex Chris set out those numbers last year, and I think he kind of like tempered the market expectations, so hopefully comes in with nice beats. That's what my feeling was. If that happens, that's a sign that Alex Chris is really making progress with PayPal. So we'll see if he does do it. If PayPal come in with numbers below these expectations, or probably just in line with these expectations, I'd probably be a little bit worried about PayPal. That would probably be the point where I look at PayPal and I go, you know what, maybe I need to rethink this, because I thought the profitability and the revenue would grow a little bit higher than this. So yeah, this is a big one now. Alex Chris he's been there for a little bit now. It's time to see that if he's playing the game of Wall Street, and yeah, it's a big quarter. It's a big quarter for PayPal for sure, and reporting on the morning as well. I don't think PayPal have ever reported, as far as I can remember. I never remember PayPal reporting on the morning. So yeah, that's a little bit of a change there. 3M, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Oatly. Wow, do you remember them guys? They've been hit big time. Amazon reporting, I like Amazon, but I'd like it cheaper. AMD reporting, I was looking at AMD, like the numbers they're forecast to do are so poor for a company that's trading at like 1,000 times earnings or something. I was really surprised. Starbucks, obviously you guys know from yesterday, my newish position. We'll see what Starbucks do. Looking at the numbers, I probably expect them to do quite well off these numbers. I've got to say, Yahoo Finance is letting itself down a little bit at the moment. The data for updating is so slow on Yahoo Finance at the moment. But with the forecast, I would expect them to do quite well with the forecast here. So I hope it doesn't disappoint. But if it does disappoint, it might give me a chance to buy shares at a cheaper price. So we'll see what happens. Pinterest, I used to own Pinterest. Sold it out for a 400% return. Some shares a little bit lower than that. But yeah, it was a successful stock. Eventually I sold out because I just thought the valuation now doesn't make sense for the profitability they're going to ramp up to. But I'll keep an eye on it. We've got Lemonade that's going to report in Wednesday. Pfizer, I'm not a fan of Pfizer, but I know a few guys like it. CVS Health, I know some of you guys that aren't in Walgreens are liking CVS. MasterCard, looking at these as numbers, we'd probably expect MasterCard to put some strong numbers in. On the Wednesday after the close, we've got Qualcomm, Paycom, that's been quite a volatile one recently. Etsy, used to own Etsy, took a little bit of a profit off that one. Got a bit worried around some things that were going on, but I'll check out and see how the company's doing overall. And by the way, this is the most anticipated earnings, so I know there's a few companies that are reporting that aren't on this list, but there's that many companies reporting earnings next week. It's hard to fit them all on here. Peloton, Zoetis that are going to report in Penn National. And on the close on Thursday, Apple, I mean, their numbers have been really disappointing recently, so we'll see what's going on there. Coinbase, Block, I've got to say, I looked at Block numbers. I thought, you know what, let's have a look at what analysts are forecasting for this quarter. The EPS is expected to go from 0.4 to 0.72. That's pretty impressive. And the current sales growth is 26%. I thought that was really, really good numbers from Block. That if they do those numbers, it's pretty impressive. And by the way, on a forward P basis, it's currently trading around 23 times forward earnings. I thought, I've not bought Block for a long time because I've been buying like Sofi and PayPal, but if they're doing them sort of numbers, I've got to say that's I've got to have a bit of a rethink on that one anyway. So yeah, Block are going to report. The big one, the king, we'll come back to the king. Cloudflare, Bill.com, Booking Holdings, Expedia, Fubo TV, but obviously the king. So my largest position in the stock market is going to be reporting on Thursday after close, and then as always, they'll do the conference call on the Friday. Do you guys want to see a full breakdown of their earnings? I don't know. I've always done it on the YouTube channel for the last 2 years. However, the last one that I did was pretty poorly received. There wasn't really that much interest in it. The views were quite disappointing, and I thought they'd be a lot better considering it's been the main stock of the channel. So I don't know if you guys want to see a full earnings breakdown. I'd normally do that on the Saturday, but judging on the last video I did, there wasn't much demand there, so let me know in the comments section. But yeah, I mean, DraftKings, it's up 28% year to date, up 90% in the last year. So we've not really had a downward move that much from DraftKings off earnings for a little bit. And we've been on a hot run. So bring your expectations in a little bit. I think that we might see a little bit of a chilling off in the share price, even if their earnings are good. So don't expect too much of a big movement, I would say. But looking at the EPS is expected to go from a negative 0.7 from last year up to a negative 0.28. So that's a rapid improvement on the EPS. So that's what everyone's going to be focused on, is the EPS and the profit guidance now. It's not really a revenue growth story. It's like the ramp up to profitability that everyone's going to be looking at. And by the way, if you actually look on the next quarter, so when we get to Q2, we're actually expecting the first quarter of positive EPS, which is really impressive. So yeah, that's going to be really interesting to keep an eye on here. Sales growth wise, we're expecting 45% year over year revenue growth, which is still so impressive. You know, the amount of people that were out there saying, oh, if we have no new states come online, this company's going to be dead. Well, they disagree there with 45% revenue growth. And looking at the current expectations for this year, I'm surprised analysts are still sitting around 31% sales growth. Because if we do 45 in Q1, in Q2 we do 44%, and then by the time we get to Q3 and Q4, we're going to have the Super Bowls as well. Yeah, this is probably going to be another 40+% revenue growth year. So I would expect that DraftKings coming out and make sure they go, you know, that 31% guidance you got, start hiking that up towards 33% I would say probably this quarter. By the time we get to Q2, they're probably towards 35%. So I would expect to hike up there. But what would be really good is the profitability. If they can really start showing that drive to profitability more. I mean, obviously if they do this, that's enough proof. But I would love them to like shock Wall Street and like, you know, really close to positive EPS. That would be, you know, the really impressive thing. And hiking up the EBITDA guidance as well, that's probably something key. Obviously, the big thing that I'll probably keep an eye on is the competition with like ESPN Bet. There were no signs of that coming in the Q4 earnings. So we'll see if that changed with the Q1 earnings. Obviously, that was only one quarter, but if we get back-to-back quarters where there's no sign of the ESPN Bet really affecting them, that'd be really positive. So, yeah, I think also a key thing that I'll be looking out for is the game plan with Brazil. Obviously, since the last earnings, we've kind of heard about the potential expansion into Brazil, and it'd be interesting to see if there's any comments around what they're seeing with the Brazil side of it. I think that's something that I never factored into when I was buying the stock. So yeah, that's probably the other key points that I'm looking at when we get these earnings anyway. So yeah, massive week. I'm sure on this list you can only have one stock that is at least going to be reporting earnings. For me personally, I've got a lot that's going to be reporting. It's going to be a busy week. I'm definitely not going to be short of video ideas this week. It's going to be which stocks do I mention and how many can I fit in one video kind of week. So yeah, buckle up. It's going to be a big one. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. See you in a bit.